from Denmark can stand up here and share anything about how to do startup business and work with small businesses, etc. But when I did move here in 1992, it was really to set up a new distribution system for Philip Morris cigarettes. And during my first 9 months, I visited 5,000 Sari Sari stores and interviewed every single one. In fact, there's no business I know any better than Sari Sari stores. And then basically found out that the key drivers for a Sari Sari store is the same as for Coca-Cola that I worked for later, or Dole Packaged Foods, and now Regus. Worked for all of them here in the Philippines. It comes down to basically cash and restraints on or the limitation of cash flow. Very important for us, especially as a startup company. I need the clicker, by the way. I don't know who left with that. And we need our presentation. Yep, here we go. So basically, it is all about having access to each other's knowledge. Why? Because most of you here are millennials. You're very innovative. Millennials are like the most successful generation that I have ever experienced since I entered the workforce way too many years ago. So in other words, I'm a baby boomer. But you no longer have the experience. Things are moving so fast. The disruption was the subject before. So we don't have the luxury of going into a classroom to learn new stuff. And you guys, you're so way ahead of the game, you need to learn from other people, connecting with other people, building communities like what it is like today. Before I proceed, any of you in here, please raise your hand if you are currently or have been using co-working. There are a lot of local co-working sites. Are there any of you who have been using it? Okay, great, because then I will tell you why you should be doing it. Where should I point? Guys, where should I point? Oh, yes, good. I just wanted to start with a picture. This is a center called Spaces. We're not just Regus. Different companies, different people, different needs. It's all about coming in at a low cost, no capital investment, no long-term liabilities. It's perfect for startup companies, just as well as Fortune 500 nowadays. These pictures I took myself. I'm launching Spaces, co-working up in Korea, and that's a typical co-working area. There are attached offices, the reception. Right now we actually have a Ducati motorcycle displayed right here, because this is not just a work style, this is a lifestyle. You want to go there, you want to be part of the community, and we will make it very enticing, very vibrant to be part of it. I mean, it is fun to have Ducati displaying a motorcycle for 1 full month. And every so often we will send out invitations to you, and you can come and hear Ducati presents about the heritage of the brand, the motorcycle today, where they see it in the future. And that's a great icebreaker for you to network and learn from each other, right? We are, by the way, opening the first Spaces on June 5th at World Plaza in Bonifacio Global City, just off what's it called? Yeah, the shopping street. Okay. Talk about disruption. Let me show you how fast it's going. Back in 1920, that was before I was born. If you are a Fortune 500 company, you are statistically likely to stay in that top tier level for an average of 70 years. Today, barely 10 years. The first company I worked for was the biggest company in Denmark. It was over 100 years old. It was called East Asiatic company. We had royal family on the board. It was the most renowned company, and today they have 0 employees. They don't even exist any longer. Times just overtook them. And people like to work whenever and wherever, especially millennials. That is the preference. And employers, they really want to embrace that also. So now we have a disconnect suddenly, because it's particularly millennials who would like to work whenever and wherever that you like. And the employers who are generations older, maybe even baby boomers like myself, we are used to measuring people by the timesheet and whether or not I can spot my employees outside my office. That's history. So basically it comes down to results, and that creates an enormous interest among baby boomers to connect with millennials, and millennials will benefit greatly from connecting with baby boomers, because what is it that you need? You need experience and best practices, so why not make that connection together? Okay, now I went into black screen. No, here we go. Well, this is one of the obvious, right? Because millennials have basically don't know the world without connectivity. And it is now coming down to basically having that device in your pocket, and most millennials have really not tried anything else. And to be a startup company is great, because again, you can work whenever and wherever that you like, and you will always be on. Actually, I have never had so much in common with any generation as I do with baby boomers, because I was always blamed for working way too much and after regular work hours and from home and Saturdays and Sundays. But millennials are always on, right? So it's absolutely fair not to be measured by a timesheet, because the employer can also expect that you're checking emails early morning, late evening, Saturdays and Sundays. And I know that millennials are doing that. So, what is it that millennials, what's the world that you know? Well, millennials have typically entered the workforce in year 2000, and it has been so extremely turbulent ever since. So millennials, young people, startups don't know any other world than a very changing and turbulent world. So therefore, expecting change, anticipate working in chaos, and millennials have learned to problem solve for solutions. That is very, very important, because these are very scary aspects for us who are older, who have tried long, stable periods of economies locally and globally. You don't know anything different, and for you that's normal. And then a very bold statement here that I picked from Forbes magazine, because many of us have been taught at business schools, college, universities, that knowledge is power. And Forbes magazine suddenly says, knowledge is not power. Is it powerful? Yes. But sharing of information is the true source of power. And now we are back to connecting with each other, right? So millennials in particular, startups are seeking the connectivity, and leadership implication is to allow for a connecting culture. Therefore, what we are really trying to do with our business lounges, our network with spaces in particular, is to build communities. Communities is really where you will be able to share. I don't know how many of you have seen this movie with Robert De Niro, but he is a retired fellow who becomes an intern at a very dynamic IT company that is run by and owned by this lady. It's a great movie because it is exactly what I'm talking about. At first they don't connect at all. Of course, at the end of the movie they connect completely. They get the perfect leverage out of his experience and wisdom and her entrepreneurship and early stages of her private life as well as her work life. And by the way, there's less and less separation between the two of them, right? And for us here in the Philippines, being able to go to different places, remember, whenever, but also wherever we like, is even more important, because it's not just location, location, location in real estate. It is also very much transportation. And in order to stay productive, we have to be able to drop into a professional but flexible workspace. Actually, my biggest competitor is the coffee shops. But we offer, just here in Metro Manila, over 20 locations where you can just drop in. And by the way, to get access to all of those, it costs barely 4,000 pesos. And you can access any of our lounges, also in Cebu, in Davao, in Clark, and by the way, over 100 other countries, 3,000 plus locations. So I think that's a pretty sweet deal. That was about 4,000 pesos, not dollars. And then again, a little bit the same point, that the notion of working from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 is absolutely dead, because we are working much more than that. And then we need the network. It's quite interesting. We opened a center down in Davao. It's actually the biggest center we have in the whole country. We thought that we would be a great incubator for like big investors from Metro Manila, whether they're domestic or international, to enter into Davao. But you know what? All the SMEs down in Davao, they saw the opportunity to use our business as a platform to do business and develop and grow, not only in Davao, but also to use our network to go into the other cities in the country. Very efficient for 4,000 pesos, I think. And there was something about adaptability that was suggested several times to the questions at the session earlier. And here's a guy who is definitely older than me, Darwin. He's stating it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that has never been more applicable than it is today, where change and disruption is absolutely prevailing and dominating, and only accelerating, by the way. And just when you are connecting, who do you want to connect with? I mean, do you want to connect with other millennials, or do I want to connect with other baby boomers? The answers should be no and no. Because in order to learn from each other, we need to create a community where you have millennials connecting with baby boomers, you have industry A connecting with industry C, you have the startup company connecting with the Fortune 500. These are many of our customers somewhere in the world any given time. As a startup, converges in this country. They started with us, and look where they are today. And to be able to hang out and in the community hall hear about Ducati or something else, we will have ongoing, super interesting events and speakers, and these are the people that you will be working with. And trust me, everybody are very interested in understanding each other, again, because of the speed of change. And with that, I'm just closing with a picture again of our spaces, the new brand that we are bringing in addition to the 25 Regus locations that we have. It is all owned by the same parent company, but this is truly the future, and this is a community hall, and this is where you can access, hang out, coffee. We actually have made a deal with Wildflower, so because it is so big, we have Wildflower as a concessionaire inside our center. So very hip, very in, very interesting for everybody, regardless age, industry, startup or Fortune 500. Thank you very much.